think of being able to put a solutions engineer on an SDR call. Said no one ever, because there's no business model to put a 450K OTE solutions engineer on a top of funnel. It's like a seller's world, and I'm going to shift it to be a buyer's world. And while that's scary for some sales teams and some sales leaders, like they love to keep control, and there's the give-get that everybody does. But imagine if you release that control and you just could give them what they want without having to go through those stages, because you go through those stages because humans are expensive. And to get to the next human, you have to earn the right to talk to my AE. You have to earn the right to talk to my solutions engineer before you can go into and have that conversation. And that's wrong.
All right, welcome everyone to the Stack GTM podcast. My name is Noah Marks, and I'm joined by my co-host and co-founder of the GTM Council, Annie Mowat. Our guest today is putting the entire sales teams on notice with her latest venture. You all know her prior company. She founded 6 Sense. Our guest today is founder and CEO of OneMind, Amanda Kahlow. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you for having me, guys. Great to be here.
It's good to have you. And our audience is very familiar with 6 Sense, so I don't think we'll spend a lot of time there. We may come back to it from point to point, but I think what everyone is really interested in is in the superhuman concept that you're really pushing. And so I think if you could start with the epiphany that you had that you wanted to solve with OneMind. And I'm guessing, like anyone involved in the marketing stack, you've developed some pretty strong opinions of sales organizations and how they operate efficiently or effectively. I kid, but not really. So take us through kind of why this was the next thing for you.
Yeah. I mean, we're essentially solving for growth. Most people with AI are solving for efficiency gains. And I'm not solving for, I'm not even solving, my North Star is not your growth and your top line. My North Star is to solve for your buyer, for customers. I think the experience that we put customers through is atrocious for all the right reasons, because we didn't have the tools or technology or wherewithal to actually do things different. But today, in the age of AI, we actually can create a totally new experience that puts the control in the buyer's hands versus being in the seller's pockets. And so that is my North Star, is how can I create a better buying experience from first touch, from awareness to close to upsell, cross-sell, onboarding, the entire like go to market, if you will, the marketing, sales, and customer success. How could I collapse that all together to be buyer first and buyer centric? And we're doing that through what we call Superhumans, which are these digital experiences that meet buyers in every channel on your website. They meet them in product, they meet them on a Zoom or in Teams, and they have context from every past conversations, from other conversations offline with your sales team, and can really help buyers like move the conversation forward and solution with empathy, the way that we try to teach our best sellers to do, but can do it on first touch and all the way through.
Yeah, disrupting the sales cycle is great, and we're gonna jump in there quite a bit. But I imagine, just from my personal experience, I think all our personal experiences, is that my guess is one of the biggest obstacles you face is you have to overcome kind of the several years of prejudice and bad experience with bots and chat bots. And but you're building a very successful company and you're gaining a lot of traction. So you're certainly able to overcome those initial fears or initial pushback when people say, I don't really want another bot. What's the turning point, the epiphany, the compelling event from your buyers that opens them up to saying, oh, let's go try this, and let's go this route now, even though it might have not have worked in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody in today's day and age can put a face or an AI chatbot on data and have a Q&A, right?
Yeah.
Back and
Yeah.
forth. But I think the compelling event for our customers and what the market is seeing is, what if I could think of it as a human experience? What if I could put a human experience where there is no business model to put a human? So in a world, like think of like your down market, we have PLG motion where you try to self-serve and you get them to free trial and sign up and then pay, or you have your commercial SMB motion where you're putting a junior seller in place that truly doesn't understand your product, your company, let alone the buyer's needs and their pain points. What if you could actually have all the context of your best solutions engineer, your CTO, with your bestseller who can solution all in one on first touch and have a really engaging solution oriented conversation. And so that is our goal, is to create these conversations that really move the needle for customers to understand how your product solves the pain of your buyers. And it's not just let me Q&A, answer some questions and book a meeting with a sales rep, right? It's like, let me take this as far as you want to go. I'll give you a demo, I'll solution with you, I'll build an ROI calculator, I'll build a business case together. Our superhumans can create content, can give a live demo, can do things that your best sellers and solutions architects can do across the life cycle, but with the control of your with the customer. They're in control versus the seller being in control. So yes, in some ways it's like a chatbot, but and it sits in the bottom right for some of our customers, but a lot of our customers are using it. We have like an AI mode, which like pulls down from the top and they land on this experience where you're giving it's like going into a GPT where they can create content, create an ROI calculator, et cetera. We also join Zoom calls. We could join webinars. Actually, I should have brought my superhuman on this with
Yeah.
us for this podcast. That would be great. So, like, the superhuman can be here and answer hard questions, or if I get stuck and I just don't want to go, I could call on my superhuman to jump in. So, the surface area that it covers is so much more than just a chatbot.
Amanda, it's funny because a lot of people have come at this from a lot of different directions, right? I'll think of like the Sierras, which are like, we will understand your full context and be able to do that. There's like the qualifieds, and then like the newer ones, like a docket or something like that. I'm curious, like, and maybe the answer is you just execute better, you understand better, but like, how do you differentiate in this space versus all these others? I mean, I think partially what's really valuable to our audience is like, how do they break down and understand this space? And so I'd be curious how you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll break it down by thinking about each of those different categories. Like a Sierra and Decagon are coming at it from a support angle. That's where
Yes.
they've started, right? So they're offloading support tickets, but they're typically selling to like B to C companies, right? So they're not going after like big enterprise B2B long sales cycles or even trying to be the CSM. They're trying to be the ticketing system, or I can offload these tickets and create efficiency gains. So they may come in, and they probably will, and they probably already are, and I don't know about, come into the sales world and come into our angle, but they're really there to solve for efficiency, right? So let me get through so you don't have to go to a human and go to a support and create a support ticket and talk to a human. I'm
Mm.
coming at it from long enterprise or commercial sales, and let me actually solution with you and be the best seller and understand, give you a demo and understand your pain points and have a real contextual conversation. So I'm coming at it more from a sales angle. They're coming at it more from a support angle. So that's how we really don't come up against each other at
I
all
I
in
would
deals.
agree. I could see
Yeah.
over time. It's funny because every agent ends up kind of like adding all agents. So I could see eventually, but I agree on that one. How about more like the qualified slash docket buckets?
Yeah, well, also just before I leave off
Yeah.
that one, I'll just say that when we do come after each other, and we will at some point overlap, I can't wait for the day that I say to the market, would you rather buy a solution that's purpose built to help you grow and sell? Or would you rather buy a solution that's purpose built to help you with efficiency gains and offload tickets? I think it's a pretty easy answer that top line is more important than bottom line. And so I'm bullish on it's a harder problem than what they're solving. And that's why they've been able to get to scale so much faster because they're solving a arguably easier problem because it's not nearly as much context that they have to actually take in, and they can do like create deterministic with the generative models and the probabilistic models to offload tickets. And it's kind of narrow and as far as its scope goes. Our scope of having to understand, for example, like Cisco is a customer of ours, thousands of products and industries they sell to and verticals, and our superhuman has to be able to sell all of those products and carry that conversation and take the conversation to the next stage. That's a much harder, deeper, richer context, which gets me to the how we're different than like a qualified or a docket.
Well,
Qualified is all about what I mean. It's funny in their marketing, they talk about like, their differentiator for us, their slide against us is actually one of my favorite things because they're like, we are purpose built for pipeline and they're purpose built to sell. And I'm like, yeah, because they are purpose built to generate, drive meetings, to send to a human. So their goal is to put a face on a chatbot and book a meeting. My goal is to bypass that meeting, to be the meeting in that moment so that we can drive revenue. I want to measure the bottom of the funnel, the revenue that comes out. And
right.
every time we've gone up against them, which has been about 10 different times now, head to head, because they've been the incumbent in a lot of companies, and we've had to do a head to head, anywhere from 2 to 5x increase in revenue. shorten sales cycles, and larger average deal size every
Right.
single time. It's because we're speed to lead. And you think about the vendor that first solutions and provides the answers that your buyer is looking for is the one that's going to win. So we're giving customers, again, being customer centric and focused, I'm giving customers their answers and their demo and solutioning with them. They don't have to wait for the handoff to an SDR, and then they hand off to the AE, and then they hand off to the solutions engineer through that human cycle. So qualified supports that booking of meetings, top of funnel. We support the full end to end. For some of our customers, we go all the way to close. I'm not there just to book meetings. I absolutely can book meetings if that's what you want us for, and that's easy. But I want to take it, I want to book meetings for your enterprise, and I want to take it to close for your commercial and SMB business. And I want to drive your free trials for your PLG business. I want to be the full end to end. I want to drive upsell and cross sell and be your digital CSM. I want to be your solutions engineer. So we want to do so much more. So the reason that we're winning is that we're life cycle. We take on the full life cycle, which is a much bigger problem. And today in the world of AI, when I started Sixth Sense back in 2012, 2013, you had to be so focused. Like you could not do multiple things because it took fucking forever to build a product, right? So like I had to stay laser focused on exactly what we were going to do, and I had to stay in my lane. In this world, we cannot operate like that anymore. The speed of innovation and the speed of execution on engineering because of AI, I now, in order to win, I have to create a new way for sellers to go to market. And I don't want to be a point solution. I don't want you to buy me just for pipeline. I want you to buy me because I'm going to generate pipeline. But when you see that works, then you're going to bring it into your product, and you're going to have us do onboarding. And then you're going to bring me into your CSM motion. And then you're going to bring me on calls with your solutions engineer. And everybody wants to consolidate their stack. Nobody wants to have multiple vendors across their entire life cycle. And so that's the value that we provide. So that was a long-winded answer to the question. Sorry.
No,
Right.
that's a good one. I mean, the productivity layer, most companies aren't focusing on after the deal is qualified. And I think that what you're touching on, and we're going to create a whole series on this, which is there's very little that helps the sales cycle nor the first line manager to actually increase productivity. So I really appreciate the area of focus there. What's the lowest hanging fruit in the series of roles that you just listed off as far as a first place to start? Is it the sales engineer just because it's such a heavy cost item in the process?
You know, the market is ready for the top of funnel, right? Like everybody wants to put like the chatbot, if you will, on top of funnel. So we wedge ourselves in by going head to head with qualified, but we win every time because we're saying we're going to do that pipeline, we're going to do top of funnel, but we're also going to be the sales engineer, like when you're ready for the next step. I'm very, very bullish on the superhumans that join calls to be the solutions engineer, sales engineer, or think of it as your technical CSM. Be on the call and answer the hard questions. I'll give you a real story that happened 2 weeks ago. So 2 weeks ago, end of our quarter, July is end of our quarter. I'm on the phone with a rep, first meeting with a CMO that I knew from my past life at Sixth Sense. And they happened to mention it was a 30-minute meeting just to give an intro of what One Mind was all about. And they mentioned they had a on-site coming up with their team the next week. And it was in Austin. I was like, "Oh, we'll join you." And sure enough, he's like, "Yeah, okay, great." So we showed up on Wednesday, 20 people in the room, myself, the rep, the CMO, and the chief product officer was there, which we didn't know he was going to be there. The CMO and the chief product officer basically stood next to us the entire meeting. It was supposed to be an hour meeting. The meeting went on for 2.5 hours, or 2 hours and 15 minutes or so. And in that meeting, everyone else is in person. I brought my superhuman Nigel onto the Zoom on a screen behind us. And on that screen behind us, guess how much talk time Nigel had on that call? So Nigel was our solutions engineer. I'm in the room. I could have answered any question. But because I didn't just make a guess of like
I'm going with the majority of the time. I'm going.
it was 31%. A good sales engineer is 25%. He had 31% of the talk time, and it wasn't because I was trying to show him off. It was because they were asking me really tough questions that I was like, "Ooh, that's a question for my CTO. Hey, Nigel, will you get that?" So instead of giving the cursory answer that I would have given, he goes that next level of depth. He's like, "Oh, you're asking this question because I think you care about A, B, and C." As the CPO was asking really tough questions, I didn't feel prepared, even though I know our product almost as good as anyone, to go to that next level that he could do to build trust. And so that company, I'm not going to say who they are, this is confidentiality reasons, but that company went on to buy it was an 11-day sales cycle, $262,000 deal that happened, and they closed it within the week. He said, "There's no way we're getting this through procurement, a big public company." They were so excited about it because and it was all because of Nigel, because he was there to give that level of confidence and trust into how we do what we do, that the CPO and the CMO is like, "Alright," they're seeing it live for themselves right there, and so that's the stuff I'm really bullish on. It's, like, eye-opening to people what's possible, and that's not even a product that we go out and sell, is, like, bring this into your you know, bring this into a room full of humans. Usually, it's, like, come on a Zoom call like this and then bring your
Okay.
superhuman on.
If
Oh,
there's a human involved, like how do you deal with the dynamic of like there's the how AEs and SEs work and play off each other? You know, the best ones have worked together for a while. How do you create the dynamic with Nigel?
That is a great question, and that's a lot of what we've solved is knowing he has to know his role. So before going into the meeting, you can load him. He looks into CRM, knows everything about the account, the context, everything. His you can give him before coming onto the meeting, I prep him. I'm like, I give him a prep doc just like the rep gives me a prep doc, right? Like rep says, here's all everything about it. The CMO cares about A, B, and C. The CPO is here and knows that this is what I want your job to be. Now, when I get that prep top doc as a human, I retain maybe 5% of it because I've got so much going on and I want to read the whole fucking thing, but I can't. He retains everything. He knows his exact job. He knows exactly the pain points he's trying to solve for. And then the rep has control. So the rep can control the superhuman just like they would a human with his voice or in the control panel. And on the voice, he can be, if he says, "Hey, Nigel," that wakes him up. And Nigel, like, then he goes. It knows it's his turn to talk. You can say, "Go take a back seat," and he's waiting to say for you to wake him up again, or I can in my control panel say, "Interrupt Noah right now and show this particular case study or show this demo." Like, just
Well,
jump in and go.
conversely though, can you then have it get alert to yourself that just notifies you when the AE says, "Can you just take this one for me and just run it?" And then you get notified when when Nigel takes over.
That's interesting. We don't do that, but that could be yeah, that could be
you're probably getting
interesting.
like a gong breakdown of call percentages, and you
Yeah.
could see, yeah,
Well, the really cool thing is that now we have this wasn't planned either. Our customers that are using this use case of being on calls,
Yeah.
reps are saying, "Stay on the call after it's over," and they're getting coaching from Nigel. And they're saying, "Hey, Nigel, now tell me what I did wrong." And they're like, "You asked too many questions. You kinda didn't answer this. I would have done this differently." And you get real-time feedback and coaching from Nigel in the moment, like, right after that call ended. It's like he says, "I would have done it this way. This is where you missed the key points. So, like, this is the selling methodology that you're supposed to be using in the call, and you didn't do that. Like, you didn't set up a upfront contract. You didn't ask if they had budget. You didn't this person was going here with the question, and you answered this question. Like, I would have answered it differently." So, we're seeing our customers actually use it as, like, a coach after the call, which it wasn't intended to do, but it
Yeah.
absolutely could
Natural
do it,
extent.
and it's wild. Yeah.
what is the a topic that we've been exploring, maybe doing our next deep dive on, but I'd be curious your take on this. What is the future of enablement, Amanda, with like with Nigel being able to coach, with AI role plays from companies like Hyperbound? Like, how do you, I mean, I debate whether enablement even exists in the future if you have all these tools, but I'd be curious, like, I know it's maybe not exactly where you're focused because you're focused on bringing the superhuman, but like you still need the humans to work with the superhumans. So what's the future of enablement in this world?
Yeah, I think that the challenge today, which is obvious, is because engineering teams are shipping code so fast. Like
Yes.
we have new features coming out, like at the speed of light. I can't even freaking keep
And
up.
it's impossible to train these reps to get them to
Impossible.
deliver on it, right?
Impossible. And you're reading the like, yeah, these Notion docs and like great, but who fucking has time to read that shit and get to that level of detail? And if you do, you're not doing your job. Like, it's absolutely impossible. This is why I'm so bullish about what we're doing because things like a superhuman can read all those Notion docs, know everything, be able to give the demo, go to the depth. So the human can learn from the superhuman being on the call, sharing all the information. So you're learning it in real time from the superhuman sharing. And that's why I believe that things like our superhumans will be the transfer of information. The transfer of information will no longer be in the hands of the AE or the sales engineer. It will be in the hands of AI, and AI will build more trust because it has the depth. It has that level of context that a human won't be able to keep up with. I mean, I cannot keep I don't even know some of the things that we're shipping right now because going I'm on so many of these and my calls and like I can't keep up with it. Like
The,
cannot
the
do it.
the biggest constraints in moving fast in GTM, one is like GTM systems. The other one is like rep enablement and rep training.
Yep.
And so if you can just say like, no, they don't need to know that. They need to be they need to be about relationships,
Yes.
engaging, great questions, listening. but they don't need to know all the specifics of it. I think it fundamentally changes like the
And they
dynamic.
can really focus on like, okay, I need to navigate the org. I need to figure out who to get to next. I need to figure out what the next play is and really thinking about strategically and what humans do well and like all the taste kind of things of like how we would say something, but what is being said and how to share like what your product does and what it's capable of and how it solves your problems, that should be left to AI. And I think that that is the world. It's the only way that we are going to keep up in today's world. Like I do not see a world because our human brains only have so much capacity. All of the best intentions, humans are wonderful, but we cannot and we can't afford to throw more people at it. We've seen the SaaS apocalypse or whatever. It's because we can't keep up with what's happening and there you can't put humans into the equation. There has to be another way. And so that's why I'm so bullish about what we're doing is because it really allows, and I'm not saying we're getting rid of humans. It's humans' role is going to be managing, I think, first touch all the way through to onboarding, upsell, cross sell. There's going to be a collapse of go to market and everything's going to be driven by outcomes through AI. And then when we have that, the humans are going to actually play a fundamentally different role, and our org structure is going to look completely different in 12 to 24 months from now.
I like that. What is the cynical side of me says there's no barriers to this space, but what you've done is weave it together in a really impressive way. I guess, that oftentimes is like product vision and being able to do it. What is hard to do? What is the things that you've tried to do in building this that you found the most difficult? I also think there's always the buy versus build, but I honestly don't think this is complex enough that people won't. But I'm curious, like, what have you discovered that, like, wow, that was the thing that we had to figure out that was really hard?
I'll tell you what's easy and then I'll tell you what's hard.
Please
So
do.
what's easy is building a Q&A chatbot
Yeah.
that can book meetings and throw a face on it. Anybody can do that, which is why you've got like the dockets and others. Like it is like a basic chatbot that's answering a few questions about your business and is booking meetings. What is hard is understanding full context and having a full context account-based graph that understands everything about that buyer, everything about past conversations, everything about your company, about your products, who they're selling to, and what they need to do to solution, and carrying that context from conversation to conversation. And like, think of a company, like I keep bringing up Cisco as an example, but you know, the mass amount, or even Ultrix is a great example, another customer of ours. They've like, I think 10,000 case studies I've last heard in their Superhuman's brain. When you put that much context into AI, what two things happen? One, the accuracy degrades, and two, the latency degrades. So then it gets really slow. So anybody can throw that in and you'll wait. If I'm in Chat GPT, you come back. You know how you like wait for things to reason and come back? That don't work when you're trying to have a conversation. Like you have to keep the latency down. So one of the hardest problems we've solved is high context, high accuracy with low latency and keeping the price manageable. All
I
of
do
those three things combined, very, very, very difficult. We use our own pipelines. We don't use anyone else's because no one else in the market has that. Like even like the voice model companies, the face companies, everything, nobody is able to keep this level of context, and which is why I think we have this moat against others. The other thing is the orchestrating of agents underneath. So like that basic chatbot is one agent. Our superhumans consist of about 15 agents per superhuman. The other two companies that are doing that are Decagon and Sierra and doing it in the support space, and we're doing it in the go to market. And it's one that's giving the live demo, one that's bringing up content, creating content, having the conversation, small talk to fill the air while I go do the hard problem, bring that in, and then they're saying, you go, now you go, now you go, right? So it's like this football team
we
that is
built that
working
in
together.
Whispered. I've had to build that too, which is multiple agents for your career.
Yep.
So I feel you on that one. And then to your point on latency, I'm spending a lot of time thinking about this now, right? Because people have started to describe. You remember the world under dial-up where it was like, and then you remember the world under high speed. I do think the latency problem will get solved. I think in a world, we should expect a world in a year or two where you push a button and it happens instantaneously with like inference at a really rapid speed. But I think being able to deliver that is hard right now, and I agree with you.
And
So
it'll get a if like I do believe there might be things on the horizon that comes faster than we think, but it'll be expensive, really fucking expensive, and too expensive to create a business model around. So, you get that trade like, we do dumber models because they're cheaper, and so you can't take that trade-off. You know, I I'm not solving for biotech, I'm not saving anyone's life right now. This isn't medical devices that have to be precise. I'm also not solving for financial services, like, where, like, if I put a penny in somebody else's bank account, then I'm gonna get sued, that's not okay. The bar of our, like, accuracy level is like that of a human. How accurate is your human? How accurate does your human hallucinate and make things up? And people expect 10 times more. They expect this to be better than a human, which is crazy. Like, if I'm just as good as a human, but 1/100th of the cost,
Yeah, it's
don't you wanna
autonomous
move?
car syndrome. You've got a higher echelon,
You've
but
got a higher echelon
the
to meet.
speed
However,
is big. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
so I was just gonna say, we're at, like, 98.5% accuracy across all of our we have very deep, rich evals and scorecards, and 98.5% accuracy on, like, its recall, and I think that's pretty amazing. Like, 95% would be, like, industry best practice. So I feel very good about that's not a problem for our customers.
How
Tell
so? How do you keep the bot? And I'm just gonna keep calling him bot. I'll call him Nigel. How do
Superhuman,
you
we call them superhumans.
the superhuman? So
Yeah.
the enablement is the challenge, and it's the verb, and oftentimes the noun of the enablement team is suspect, but the verb of enablement often starts with the lack of the right sort of content that's delivered. So you can release new products, but the challenge, I think we've all been in a bunch of AI initiatives the last couple of years that failed dramatically because the content wasn't there. How do you provide that governance layer across what the superhuman is saying and delivering versus potentially the gap in that there was the right question, there just wasn't the right answer available to be able to answer in the way that was necessary or effective?
I mean, product teams do a pretty good job of keeping up their, all the specs. It's just that humans can't consume it. So we consume the Notion docs. I consume like for our Superhuman. I take every call that my CTO is on, and that his transcript goes into the Superhuman's brain, and we scrape it, like pull out, like de-anonymize any of like our customer data from it. But when he's answering a question about how the shit works, that goes into the brain of the Superhuman. So anytime anything similar comes in, we look in our Ask Product Slack channel. Like basically have a bot that goes in and scrapes that. So when somebody's like our CSMs are asking a question, so Nigel has all of the information that's ever been answered. It's always looking to the most recent answer if it has conflicts. So all of these like rules and decisioning of like, okay, is it going to go with what Sachin, my CTO, said? Is it going to go with the Notion doc, or is it going to go with the information it found from Slack? Like you can have like a hierarchy of how you think about who trumps like I don't like that word. Sorry. Who I'm not supposed to talk about my politics here, but yes, who gets to have priority over another answer? Yeah, all of that goes into making this like there's no lack of information.
The technical
Yeah,
stuff. What about like the value proposition of like why it really matters? I mean, I guess that's still sitting maybe with the AE, but
that's sitting with the solutions engineers that are on the calls that have done it for like your
right.
top echelon accounts. Like that information, it's all there. Like the lack of content isn't not there. It's being able to synthesize that and then repeat that hear what you just asked, repeat back and then give back the answer that's most relevant. And that's where humans fall like they're trying the best of intentions, but we really fall down. Like we have
Yeah.
shortcomings in that way. And so I think it's going to make a rep, their quotas are going to go way up because they're going to be managing a much larger book of business, can do so much more, and it's gonna allow us to grow a lot faster as well because we can have unlimited simultaneous conversations with all of our buyers whenever they're ready without having to schedule. Imagine a world where you don't have to schedule. Like, I don't have to find time on someone's calendar to understand how your product is gonna solve my needs.
There was a to your point on measuring impact, and like rep efficiency. I agree with you. I think I'm excited for that vision. There was a thread in GTM Council this week of like, how do you measure that, right?
Mm.
Like, it's literally we were talking about like, is there a tool that would plug into calendars to measure selling time and to do that? Like, are you measuring the impact? I know you said you're focused on growth versus efficiency, but
Do both, but
you know,
yeah, like yeah.
but are you do you actually, like, programmatically measure that, and how do you do that?
Yeah, a couple different ways. Like we'll measure when a superhuman has a conversation, we're going to look at like the influence of those accounts and those opportunities. Are deal cycles shortening? So if they're in a conversation, what we see across all of our customers is the deal cycles like drastically shorten.
Yep.
One of the largest public technology companies who I can't name said that they shortened their deal cycle by 22 days of when it went through a superhuman. Wild. Their ACV doubled, on their commercial segment that they were doing. So ACV doubled, deal cycles shortened. I had another customer I just read in the Slack channel today. Another customer said to us that it's the SE coverage. So now SE's the coverage on calls used to be 17% that they could get on to 17%. Now those same SEs are still there. They still have jobs, but they're going to go work the really like top echelon accounts that they want to, and the Superhuman is covering all the rest. And now the coverage is like 85%. Like they get SE coverage on all of their calls. It could be 100% if they wanted. Like think of being able to put a solutions engineer on an SDR call. Said no one ever, because there's no business model to put a 450K OTE solutions engineer on a top of funnel, let me qualify you call. But the buyer actually has questions. They're there to learn. They don't want to wait 3 steps to get to the solutions engineer. So imagine being able to like answer their technical questions and their integration questions or whatever is like top of mind for them while you also qualify, right? In that moment. And so that's the beauty. You're unlocking where there is no previous business model for humans, but you're unlocking this potential. And like that's why the deal cycles are shrinking. That's why the ACV is going up, because you're getting to the answer first. We all know that if you answer your customers or your prospects' pain point first, you're more likely to win the deal. Like whoever can get to them with a good solution first is going to win. And
And
so that is our
incredible.
goal.
The stage, what stage two, whatever it is, the qualified stage of an opportunity is what we've been seeing. The largest drop off in the sales cycle occurs after that a meeting where the AE goes,
Yep.
"Yeah, this was a great call," and then never gets a call back. And fundamentally, as we go and study this, there's just no value provided by the AE in the call. So you think about your buyer is probably, this is probably the third person he talked to that day, and he's comparing the experience, and your experience was inferior, didn't deliver anything. And so you're immediately disqualified. So even though you thought this was great, there's a budget, I found all this stuff, you don't actually progress. And so I would love to see if you, because that seems to be where if you have that sales engineer, you're adding value in that call, how you can capture and somehow publish the improvement. Because I think if that's the biggest area for me and a lot of organizations is that very first step after qualification is where you just see the death. Later in the sales cycle, there's so many eyes on the deal that it's tough to get through. But I think that if you could tackle that one area.
It's that exchange of info. It's that like I need to qualify you so I can progress you along,
Right.
but
It's
they're
just
there
where
to
everyone's like
learn. And it's like,
focused on their,
do
yeah.
I give them a demo right now and show them, or do I ask them the questions? Like, are they annoyed because I'm asking them all the questions? And usually you spend the time, you've been trained to like, you got to find out if there's something here before we spend more time. Again, everything is built around a seller right now. It's like a
Yeah.
seller's world, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to shift it to be a buyer's world. And while that's scary for some sales teams and some sales leaders, like they love to keep control, and there's the give get that everybody does. But imagine if you release that control and you just could give them what they want without having to go through those stages, because you go through those stages because humans are expensive. And to get to the next human, you have to earn the right to talk to my AE. You have to earn the right to talk to my solutions engineer before you can go into and have that conversation. And that's wrong. Like
So
that's,
maybe
yeah.
building off of this, one thing I scribbled down earlier that I'd be excited to get your take on is the channels that you interact with people on, right? So obviously,
Mm.
when you come on into the website, you can chat with them, you can have an avatar. When you're on a call, you're good. But it feels like once you leave that live conversation, we only have one choice, which is mediocre email, right? Like, have you guys innovated at all on like the channels you engage people on? I think that's where there's like potential for a lot, right? Which is like, how do I, if I come to your site and I'm assuming you probably need to get me to give my email or something. So at least I've identified myself and you can know. But when I'm done, like your only choice is basically to email me, which is the same as everybody else. And so I'm curious if you're thinking differently about like maintaining the dialogue across different channels.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you don't give your email, we can do like we have a relationship now. We just inked a exclusive relationship with Six Sense to have all their data. Like funny that I'm Six Sense,
How'd you get
but
that
they
one?
I don't know. Actually, it didn't happen. All the new executives there, I didn't have any experience
Nerd.
with. They have a new amazing team at Six Sense, and I'm actually really bullish about where they're going with their business. Um, but so, you know, we can identify who the account is, and then yes, then you can send
Yeah.
the email. We also live in deal rooms, like for some of our customers. So, like, if it's in a deal room, I can read all of the docs in the deal room, everything that's happening, everything that that's all the prep. And then the superhuman can bring that to life and have a one-to-one conversation about the information that's there. But no, I haven't opened up a new channel, but imagine like anytime they can come back and talk to the superhuman and continue the conversation. Like I had one of our customers, a CRO, talk to our superhuman on the weekend for 90 minutes and then post that conversation turned into one of our largest deals in history. I saw it come through. It was earlier in our days. And instead of the AE joining, I was like, I got this. I'm going to take this call. I took the call. He literally sold me, ended up buying 4 superhumans and is now using them across the life. But he talked, and then the CMO talked to the superhuman before I got on. So there was 2, like one 90-minute conversation, one 30-minute conversation with the superhuman before anyone human from one mind talk to them. And that is the beauty. It's like it was able to solution and talk about how it's going to integrate and let me learn about your enterprise and your PLG motion and where are you stuck across your CSMs and how are you not able to scale? What are your big pain points you're solving for? All the things your sales rep would do. And then I had all of that rich context going into the conversation. So I didn't have to ask the questions because I knew his business. I knew everything he cared about because he divulged everything to the superhuman.
So on the flip side, like I come to your website, you know where I'm at, which company I'm at, you've got my email, but I don't come back. How do you drive them back, and what are you driving them back to? Are you driving them back to come back and chat with our superhuman, come back to our website, or is it like personalized content being generated there? Like what works well to bring people back into a discussion and a dialogue?
That is such a great question, Andy, because this is something we're like solving right now
Yeah.
for our customers is we have the ability to have multiple deployments of the superhuman so they can have a one-to-one personalized conversation. So it's a typical ABM campaign, right? So like they come, you know they're from a specific company, then you're going to surround, you're going to try to get them to come back. And now imagine going to a landing page where there is a superhuman that can talk one-to-one based on knowing who you are. Like especially if they come from an email or a LinkedIn, you know who they are, and you can have a one-to-one conversation, maybe about like an analyst report, maybe about whatever it is. So you can put a different deployment underneath the brain. You have like all of your products and services, and it can talk about anything, but it's going to talk about this specific thing that's relative to that campaign so that you can basically, the way I think about it is you're bringing your content to life in a one-to-one ABM personalized way that was never scalable, never possible before. And so that honestly, that unlock is so exciting. And we just opened up this multiple deployments ability right now. I'm working with an agency, working with Business Online to help us basically create these like playbooks for our customers to say, here's what you can do to try to reach more. So instead of just doing like these generic outbound, you know, I never wanted to build outbound and build email. Our customers made us, and we had to have market parity with
Yeah.
qualified. We have outbound now because I needed to have parity. I need to own the full life cycle. I closed my eyes and held my nose when I did it because I don't want to be a tool that is spam. Again, my North Star is to create a better buying experience. And I think a lot of that is not a good buying experience. But if I can have a one-to-one conversation that's truly personalized and a true conversation, not just an email back and forth, but a real conversation, now I feel like I'm giving a good experience. So that's why we did it. But it was hard for me because it's one of those things where like I am very principle oriented and I did not want to build it because I don't want to create a bad experience just for the sake of revenue.
I'm the same as you. I spent a lot of the time in outbound as well too, and
Hard.
yeah, well, I built gated to try to stop and fix outbound, and
It's great.
it was so yeah, I'm with you on that one. Um, what is a good? I think this is always a fun question I love, which is what makes a good one mind customer and a bad one mind customer, right? Because is it like the tech stack, the team? Like what are you sitting there and you and your team looking at and saying, wow, this is going to be a phenomenal customer, or like, oof, this deployment's going to go badly? Because some do go badly. I'm sure no one's 100%. And honestly, there's like a lot of times when we should just tell a customer, go away. You're not going to get a lot of value out of our tool because you're not set up from a data perspective or systems or whatever it is. And so like if I'm sitting there considering one mind, what would you say like get these things in place to get the most advantage out of us?
I mean, the a couple really short answers. i- If you don't have a market, I can't create one. So if people aren't interested in your product and like you're going in the wrong direction, I am not a magic bullet for anyone. And I'll, want to clearly say that. But if you do have a market and you do have inbound and you do have people who are asking questions, or if you could get in more conversations, you would drive more deals. We absolutely will help you. And so those are better fits for us. So we've had a few customers that are struggling businesses that I can't help you if your sales team went from 20 to 1, like that I'm not gonna be able to help you in those cases. The other really, like, the bigger answer to that question is, it's really about the people who are innovators and, everybody's thinking about AI, and everyone wants to use AI. Most people are thinking about it just for efficiency. I'm always challenging, don't just think about it for efficiency, think about it for growth, and you also have to think about it from a new playbook and a first principles mindset. Most people are using AI to make what we're doing today better, and what I'm suggesting is there's a whole new way. And so that usually requires me to sell top down. So I'm selling into the CMO or the CRO, the head of sales, the head of customer success, who says, we need to do something different. We can't scale. We don't have a business model right now to be able to reach all of our customers and have conversations at scale. But when it goes down and it gets purchased, sometimes it will go down to maybe a lower level person that wants to do things the way they're used to doing things. And so they want like a qualified because they just, all they've ever done is book meetings and they just want to book meetings. They're not thinking about revenue, sales cycles, ACV increasing. They're not thinking about the board level metrics that the CRO and the CMO are thinking about. They're thinking about like, I need to, how many meetings did I book? And
So,
while we're at parity with the meeting booking, they're not measuring to, like, the outcomes that, for the business, and so, sometimes we have trouble there. I think, so that's it's just a mindset shift, and it's really hard, and people are afraid of this. They think, "Oh, is it coming from my job because it can do what I'm doing?" And, yes, jobs are gonna be different, and I would be lying if I said that I think that, like, "Oh, all the jobs are still gonna be there and they're not gonna be replaced." Absolutely, there are gonna be the replacement and, like, many jobs will be obsolete, but I do believe there will be more, and it will take on a larger swath of responsibility across the life cycle of the customer, and so humans will still be here. We'll just be able to do a lot more with what we have, and so we can either, like, get hit by the bus or be driving the bus, and so I say, like, I'd rather be driving it.
How about the systems like Marketos of the world can do, and then like the data foundation? Like, do people need to have a decent data foundation to work with you, or will you go figure that all out, Amanda?
You don't need I mean, all I need is, like, information on your products and your company. We have all the calendaring and booking and things like that, so you can drive it through, and if you give me your pitch deck like, I think about our when we first started. So, when we went to market a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, whenever that was, I'm losing track of time. Um, we had nothing. I had, like, a 160-page pitch deck that I created, like, you know, over a weekend, and we threw that in the Superhuman, and our Superhuman has created I'm gonna get these numbers wrong, but I think, like, $90 million worth of pipeline over the last, like, 18 months for us, like, it's wild how much with no content, no information because we had very little. Now we have tons, and it's bringing in our Notion documents, and it's bringing in our Slack information, and we've got tons of information because 'cause we're growing really fast, but at that time, we didn't have anything, and she was delivering pipeline. It was wild how much she was delivering. We I didn't have a marketing team until 3 months ago. And we have had the growth that we've had with, like, 0 marketing team because we just use our own product.
You said you don't need a data foundation, but how do you know if you're a PLG company, SMB, like where somebody is in the product, because it's like if you are using our product massively and you're a new user on there, like that seems like critical. So it doesn't seem like you could set this thing up without a sophisticated data foundation.
What do you help me unpack what you mean by the data foundation. Like, are you talking about, like
Well, like, do you have a data warehouse? Do you have product data in a structured format? Do you have like a sophisticated Marketo instance that you actually like is not a total shit show? Do you have what is necessary to be successful with you guys?
just information about your product, like a deck, a Google Doc deck, some Notion documents, enablement, like, whatever you would enable a human with. Right? So it's less about the other systems and tools. It's what would you enable a human with? I would give them the pitch deck. I would give them the core, go to this Notion, read our Ask Product channel, watch these videos of these sellers, give the same thing to the superhuman, and then the superhuman can go out and be a seller. Now, you can drive it from email into the superhuman, but if you have inbound coming to your website, you don't need to have the marketing automation. Most people do, and they drive it from marketing automation to the superhuman as well. We have like a lot, people using creating campaigns like that, but it's not necessary.
Hmm, okay.
all right. So I was going to go slightly different direction, which is we're recording this in August. People that might be looking to buy, I think the biggest tragedy you could do, and you've already stated this a couple of times, is just to go about solving the old problem the old way. And so structurally, if you're going to take advantage of one mind, you want to take a look at how you're going to market and how you plan. What does your organization look like? What do you like? How do you approach those conversations? And certainly, to maximize the value you want to be able to open up and
Sure.
transform. It's very difficult when you have the momentum and you have all of the overhead that you need to build into the following years. So that must be a bit of an obstacle, but how do you help break that down to bite-sized pieces so that organizations, your sales ops team that's just struggling to survive is like, okay, we're going to redesign this process. How do you lead that change going into an annual planning process so that folks can really take advantage of what you can offer?
Yeah, so I don't go in saying I'm gonna restructure your whole org. I want that to be the North Star of where we're gonna go, like, where we're gonna insert ourselves across your org in different places. I go in and say, like, some basic questions of, "What are your big goals right now? Are you trying to optimize, like, if you have a PLG motion, are you trying to optimize for signups or from signups? Like, where are the broken spots in your funnel? And where is there would you love to put a human, but there's no business model for it? Like, where would like, if what somebody signs up, if I could walk them through the product and show them and answer their questions and be there, right there. And one thing I haven't talked about today is we've just released our live demo capability. So like when going back to like competitors, Sable just announced that $45 million from Sequoia to do a live demo. We have the same thing, however, it's further along. So we've been working on this for 18 months, and it basically will walk you through and click for you and show you how to use the product, take action on your behalf. It's wild. So if that is your motion, like where you have a commercial PLG motion, let's put a superhuman right there so I can increase from free
Supplement
trial to
first and
paid.
then evolve and eventually
And then
start.
we evolve, and then we go, and then we have like customers like Alteryx that have 4 superhumans and LinkedIn that has 5 and like et cetera. So then you start to move across the whole funnel, and then we start to do more jobs. So let us do one job where there is no model for a human, but let us show that we can have revenue and we can have an impact, and then I'm gonna work on other ones, and then I'm gonna take on more and more and more. And, we're building out this rich context graph that goes across all of our superhumans. It's not fully baked yet. Like, that is a really difficult problem to solve. So, I'm all about full transparency. We're building towards it where it is really using all the past information, and there are pieces where it does it, but I want it to be smarter than a human and not be deterministic. I want it to be probabilistic with all this information. And I want it to be like create a sales LLM, like where we become, because we are sitting on more conversations. I think we're OpenAI's 200th largest customer right now. We are sitting on more sales conversations than anyone in the world. And so I have the right to be able to create a model that can sell better than anyone and know how to get you to certain outcomes. And that's super exciting. Like, that's kind of the future of where we're going, is that it's not us telling it what to do. It knows what to do to get to the outcome, but to also serve the buyer. And that's a wildly exciting thing to like move towards, but we're not there yet, but that's what we're building towards.
All right. So last question before I let you go. And what's the pricing? What's the pricing structure? We could go for multiple hours on this, but what's the pricing structure?
Sounds like she charges per human, per superhuman is what I've been getting at. Because some people have 4, some people have 5, and I want to know
Yeah,
like how
that's
do
what
you
it sounds
charge?
like.
Yeah, so it's basically like the way I think about it is it's the cost of a human. And so each superhuman would charge per role that the superhuman plays. So if it's playing like an inbound SDR, if you think about it in terms of the content you would put in its brain, you would give your inbound superhuman very different content than you're going to give your technical CSM superhuman or your sales engineer superhuman. So different content, different goals and roles. However, you can have unlimited deployments within one superhuman, meaning on inbound, like for a website superhuman, you can put it in all your campaigns, you can put it in your email, you can put it on your website, you can put it in a deal. That's all the same superhuman. Those are just different deployments and like flows and goals and roles and personalization based on one superhuman. So it's each superhuman, there's a cost, and then there's a small component that's usage. And full transparency, we usually give the usage away because I want people to use it as much as possible. So in the first year, I want you to like put it everywhere, show that this thing works, and then we'll sort out usage next year.
We can edit that part out later if you
At
want.
cost usage makes so much
No,
sense.
you can keep it in. I'm fine with the world knowing that, like, that's I mean, maybe I'm not doing it for everybody, so my sales
No,
team
no,
says
I'm
keep
just
doing it,
I'm
yeah.
just kidding. No,
So we don't
Honestly,
always do
like
it, but we usually
every
do.
time somebody disarms me in the sales process when they say like it's at cost, our AI side of things, we're charging for the platform. I think that's a much more beneficial one than we have these credits. You have
It's
no
just
idea. Yeah.
and then I don't know how much usage they're gonna have, so we can guess, and, like, I don't want you to be afraid to put it places. I want in year 1, if I lose some money, I don't care. Like, that's the lifetime value of the customer, right? Like, I'm gonna worry about that year 2 and year 3. I want you to get value out of this. I want this thing humming across your whole business, and so I don't want you to have, like, costs being a reason that you're not gonna put this in more places.
awesome. Love it. Well, man, thank you very much for coming by. Really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun.
Super fun. Thank you for having me.
You got it.